What was so dangerous about this engine that Chevrolet tried to hide it from the world? Was it too powerful? Too fast? Or was the truth even more shocking? Hey guys, before we dive in, I just want to say, I see your comments. I know some of you noticed my AI voice, and yeah, I don't speak perfect English. But here's the truth. I'm just one guy with a full-time job, trying my best to bring you accurate, well-researched car stories that most channels won't cover. So if you've ever supported me, even with a like or a share, thank you. It means the world. This is the untold story of a Chevrolet 427 L88 engine. The Chevrolet 427 L88 was introduced in 1967 as a high-performance option for the Corvette. On paper, it was just another big block V8, but in reality, it was a straight-up racing engine disguised as a street motor. Chevrolet officially rated it at 430 horsepower, but that was a flat-out lie. In reality, this monster pushed out over 560 horsepower in race trim. Some dynos even measured it at close to 600 horsepower. And here's the craziest part. Chevrolet intentionally underrated the power to trick insurance companies and regulators. Why? Because in the late 60s, insurance companies were cracking down on high-performance cars, slapping insane rates on anything that looked too powerful. Chevrolet knew that if they told the truth about the L88, it would be nearly impossible to sell. So they lied. But power alone isn't what made the L88 so dangerous. It was how it made that power and who it was really built for. This was not a street engine. The L88 wasn't just a high horsepower engine. It was a full-blown race motor. It was never meant for the street, and Chevrolet went out of their way to warn people not to buy it. Here's what made it so extreme. 12.5 to 1 compression ratio. That's NASCAR level compression. It required 103 octane race fuel just to run properly. Try putting regular pump gas in an L88. It would knock, overheat, and probably destroy itself. Aggressive solid lifter camshaft designed for high RPMs, not stop-and-go traffic. It made the engine idle like a beast, but in city driving, it was a nightmare. No comfort features, no power steering, no air conditioning, no radio. Chevrolet stripped everything to make it lighter and faster. A massive 850 CFM Holley carburetor, one of the biggest carbs ever put on a factory Chevy engine. It sucked in so much air and fuel that it needed race-spec tuning to run correctly. It was brutally fast, but also brutally unforgiving. If you didn't know what you were doing, you'd either blow up the engine or wreck the car. This is why Chevrolet only built 216 of them. They didn't want regular people buying an L88 thinking it was just another big block V8. In fact, if you tried to order an L88, Chevrolet made you sign a waiver acknowledging that it was not meant for street use. That's right, Chevy's own paperwork basically told you, this engine is too much for you. But some people bought them anyway, and when they did, they found out real quick that this wasn't a car you could just take on a Sunday cruise. The L88 wasn't just powerful, it was dominant. It crushed the competition in drag racing, road racing, and even Le Mans. A Corvette L88 ran 175 miles per hour down the Mulsanne Straight, faster than some Ferrari race cars. An L88 Corvette ran the entire race without a single mechanical failure, something even factory-built race cars struggled to do. NHRA drag racing. The L88 was so fast that NHRA had to reclassify it to keep things fair. It was too good, and that made a problem. NASCAR and NHRA eventually restricted the L88 because it was dominating too hard. And just like that, Chevrolet had a choice to make. Keep making a car that was too extreme for the street and too dominant for the track, or quietly kill the L88 and move on. Why Chevrolet killed the L88? By 1969, the writing was on the wall. Insurance rates were skyrocketing, government emissions laws were coming, and Chevrolet knew that high-compression engines like the L88 had no future. The muscle car era was dying, and the L88 was simply too extreme to survive. So in 1970, Chevrolet quietly replaced the L88 with the LS6 454. It was still a beast, but it was detuned enough to be more street-friendly. And just like that, the most dangerous engine Chevrolet ever built disappeared. Today, an original L88 Corvette is one of the rarest and most valuable muscle cars in existence. At auction, L88 Corvettes have sold for over $3 million legend. Even a non-matching number L88 engine alone can go for six figures. And why? Because it represents something we'll never see again. A time when automakers built cars with zero restrictions, with no safety nets, and with no concern for regulations or insurance costs. It was pure, raw, American horsepower. And that's why the Chevrolet 427 L88 is more than just an engine. It's a legend. So, was the L88 too dangerous? Yes, but that's what made it so special. It was a car built for racers, not for casual drivers. It was too powerful, too aggressive, and too demanding for the street. And Chevrolet knew it. That's why they lied about its power. That's why they limited who could buy it. And that's why, eventually, they buried it. But legends never die. And today, the L88 is still one of the most feared, most respected, and most legendary engines Chevrolet ever built. So tell me, if you had the chance to drive an original L88 Corvette, would you? Let me know in the comments. And if you love stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell, because I've got plenty more legendary engines to talk about. See you in the next one.